Can Jim Beam follow in Jack Daniel's footsteps with a genuinely good single barrel? We're about to find out. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, today I'm taking a look at this. It is Jim Beam's Single Barrel, a bottle that until very recently I just had no idea existed. I have quite a history with the brand of Jim Beam, and by that I mean when I was younger I drank too much of it, but beyond their, let's be honest, pretty disappointing, slightly kind of inflated releases above the original, yeah, I didn't really know they were up to much else. So last time Amazon Prime Day came around, I think it's nearly time for another one, to be honest, because apparently it happens 8 times a year now. I grabbed a bottle of this. I can't remember quite what I paid for it, but on Amazon today it's 40 quid, which at any rate really isn't all that bad, provided what is in here is half decent. Now, we all know that in the mass market bourbon appeal, there are two main competitors. There is Jack Daniel's and there is Jim Beam, at least in the world as a whole. I'm sure it might be a bit different in the US, but here in the UK anyway, yeah. If you're going to go and buy a bottle of brand name bourbon and you know nothing, well, you're going to come away with Jack Daniel's, which actually is a Tennessee whiskey, kind of still is a bourbon, but argument for another day. And this, well, not this one, but the regular release Jim Beam White Label. They are the generics that you can find pretty much anywhere. I have to say, for a few years prior to starting this channel, I said that I thought Jim Beam's White Label was actually a better bourbon than Jack Daniel's Old Number 7, but to be honest with you, I haven't put them head to head in years, so I'm not going to hold by that claim just yet, but it will be very interesting to see what they can do with a single barrel, because Jack Daniel's single barrel release is phenomenal, and they do share a few interesting similarities. The obvious one, of course, being that they are both single barrels. That means all of the whiskey in this bottle came from one barrel, and all of the other bottles of it came from a single barrel. Not all the same barrel, because it'd be a pretty limited run, but you get the idea. There's been no blending happening between different barrels in the distillery. Basically, this is straight out the barrel, watered down and into the bottle. It has been watered down, but not as much as Jack Daniel's single barrel. Their regular single barrel is 45% or 90 proof. This comes in at 47.5% or 95 proof. So yeah, definitely a few plus points in Jim Beam's favour on that one. And finally, price. When it comes to this end of the market, it's like it's just inflated. It's not the bog standard stuff or just kind of the spin-offs that are a few quid more. This is like the next step up. Normal Jim Beam and normal Jack Daniel's in the UK range from about £18 to £25 a bottle. Their single bottle offerings pretty much double that. Because Jack Daniel's single barrel is so easily available in many supermarkets, it can be found for as low as £35 a bottle, but the general RRP is quite a bit higher, and I often see it at 45 or even 50 quid online. On the flip side, this Jim Beam single barrel is pretty much 40 quid absolutely everywhere, including on Amazon, as I said, which is where I got mine from. So, well, it's consistent at least, and as far as I'm concerned, puts it basically bang on the same money. Now, you'll notice there isn't a bottle of Jack Daniel's single barrel just here, which there should have been, really. Like, it's an obvious compare to go to, and it is one of my favourite easy accessible bourbons or American whiskies, depending on how pedantic we're being with the phrase. But yes, it would have been a great shout, but the only bottle of Jack Daniel's single barrel I have right now is their barrel strength version, which takes it well above this, both in terms of ABV and price. So maybe later, if I feel like this is strong enough, like I feel like it really holds its own, we might do a comparison, but we shall have to see. First, I need to break into this one though. So it's got a nice proper wooden cork on it, but I think there's a plastic cap on it as well. Oh no, it's just the paper seal. I never know whether to try and pull these off and get them off completely, or see that happens, and that's just, it's not fun. It's not fun. I shouldn't have done it, but never mind. We're in now. Yeah, it just leaves rubbish all over the place. Just I give in. Excellent cork pop though. Excellent. Right, that's a great start. I didn't show you the bottle. What am I doing? I'm a mess. It's gone all wrong. Right. cork back in just so I can pop it off again because it sounds so good. The bottle on this looks absolutely, I'm not going to say absolutely stunning. It looks absolutely different. I feel like, is the Jim Beam rosette off center to the logo there? I feel like that's definitely in the wrong place. It looks nice. It's definitely kind of a big, almost kind of Thor's hammer style bottle. You know, you could do some construction with it, I reckon, should you really want to. But yes, it's definitely different from the regular Jim Beam. You know you're looking at something that's not their standard product, and yeah, it's quite nice. It's got the signature on the side there embossed. I think you can see that. But yeah, let's get into it. Not as good that time. Let's be honest, talking about the colour of bourbon whiskey often is a bit irrelevant because they're all just great because of those massively charred barrels. Now I say that, I sit here in front of the big studio light and think, maybe it's just a touch lighter than I thought it was going to be based on the bottle, but it's got a very just solid kind of golden syrup vibe about it. Looks nice enough. How though does it smell? My first reaction there was genuinely, oh, that's bourbon. Like, it's got that very generic, almost comforting, I know where I am, I know what this is kind of a thing going on. It's quite a lot of ethanol. It is a fresh open bottle, so we'll forgive it for that. But a few more oak tannins than I thought there would be in something from Jim Beam. It's very oaky, and TCP, antiseptic vibe as well. There's some sweet residual brown sugar masked in the background, but nowhere near as much as I thought there might be. It's not crazy hot, but it's definitely more complex, more mature flavours, more, well, sophisticated compared to what I'm used to from Jim Beam. So yeah, you get the idea. Of course, this as a review concept is a bit of an irrelevancy. The chance of you getting a bottle from exactly the same barrel as I've got, pretty slim. So yours might taste completely different. But the point really to watch this is to find out, do they do a good job of a single barrel bottling? And we're about to find out. Cheers. Ooh. You know what? I was ready to go in on this. I was ready to say, no, that's just splashy, trashing all over the place. But that finish is absolutely beautiful. Big oaky nose on it, the ethanol, all of those really intense flavours from the aroma don't deliver quite in the same way on the palate. The woody notes are much more fresh, much more piney, less that deep, dark oak from the barrel itself. There's some more zingy notes, a little bit of citrus peel, but it's more like, you know, eucalyptus, almost menthol, mint, just, yeah, coming at you. And the kind of cornbread finish on it is what I absolutely adore. You get all these big, slightly more zesty, slightly more impactful, again, they're more mature, more refined, more the highbrow flavours. It's not just vanilla, caramel, bit of biscuit, you know what I mean, chocolate, whatever. Those, I like those sweet flavours, don't get me wrong, and some of my favourite bourbons are filled with them, but to see a relatively mass market bottle come out with some of those more spritzy, more dynamic, more, or just refreshing notes, really, both in a physical sense, you know, that menthol, that eucalyptus really perks you up, and it's refreshing to see it happen, to see that difference and not what I was expecting. Let me try and break this down for you so you can really understand what's going on here. So, right on the tip of the tongue, it's hot, it's sweet, it's giving that kind of chilly, hot honey thing that's quite common right now, which is incidentally one of my favourite things in the world, so that might go to explaining why I'm enjoying this so much. Yeah, hot honey on a pizza is a fine thing. Then over the mid palate, you really start to get that zingy lift. Starts off in citrus peel, then it peels away into that eucalyptus, and then finally into that menthol sensation that really just clears out your airways. The mint then starts to morph. What I do like about this is we're stringing flavours together all the way along. So start at the front, as I said, with that hot honey thing. The honey part of that, you get the herbal nature and the floral nature of the honey transitions nicely into citrus peel because that's sweet and also a little bit bitter, which then bounces in to that eucalyptus menthol thing, morphing again into pine. Like, you can, if you try and set your mind to it, work out how all of these things are just slightly connected, a few steps apart from each other, and we're springing away along. Then over the back of the tongue, the oak is there, and actually much more so than I'd really picked up on before. I think when you sip this normally, it's such a short-lived experience that you amalgamate the greenery, let's say, of what I described in the mid palate, along with those deep, dark, oaky, toasty notes, and you come out with pine. You bring out pine in your mind. If you break it down and let it sit on the palate for a minute, then it's not really piney at all. It becomes much darker, much richer, much deeper toasted oak. If you are a big toasty oak lover, you're going to like this, and you're going to be able to just sit it on the back of the tongue for a minute and appreciate all those flavours. But if you're not massive on those big, rich, deep oak tones, then it doesn't really matter, because when you take a quick sip, you don't get it. And it definitely morphs into this piney thing, just depending on the speed at which you take your sip, which is, well, definitely dynamic and opens up a few more routes for more people to enjoy it, I think. Anyway, aftertaste time. This is where my favourite bit comes in, although I might change my mind on that. Is that toasted, graham cracker, savoury, cornbread. There's lingering sweetness throughout the whole thing, but that's not the dominant flavour. It's slightly earthy, grain forward. It's the corn, it's the raw product. It's, yeah, quasi-savoury biscuit territory, and it sits just beautifully, slightly dries your tongue out, ready to go for another sip, but there's no big heat, there's no big mess. It just finishes it off nicely, and as I said, it's a proper roller coaster, a story of flavours going from start to finish. Starts off a bit hot, ends up super chill, and that is a very, very nice single barrel. But we can't have everything being positive all the time. Where are its flaws? Well, it's splashy. It's a bit loose. It doesn't feel hyper premium. Even though it's been bottled at, was it 47.5%, 95 proof? In the glass, I don't know, it's not really sticking. Like, it feels like it's been proved lower. Taste-wise, no, the taste is there, it's perfect. I understand why they've proved to that point, because ultimately the thing that really matters, the flavours, are good at that point. But it is just lacking a bit of body, maybe a bit of depth in the physical kind of influence on it. But you only think that for the fraction of a second when you first start sipping it, and by the end you go, I don't care. It is very, very nice indeed. I'm not going to compare this to my bottle of Jack Daniel's single barrel strength today. Two reasons. One is I think the ABV difference is just massive, and just to point out exactly how big, this is 47.5%. The Jack Daniel's single barrel strength 64.5. It's another realm. It's a completely different realm. It's the best part of 50% again. So no, let's just pop this down. The other reason though is that certainly against that barrel strength one, it's not telling a similar story. This is much brighter, fresher, zestier, arguably younger whiskey. I don't know if that's true, but it feels like it might be. It's got those younger tones, and that's not a bad thing. It works in the situation that they presented this in. It's perfectly good. It's fantastic. I would recommend people buy it. But the Jack Daniel's one is just a bit more depthy. I'm not saying it's got a breadthier array of flavours, but the flavours that are in there are deeper, and they are easy to get sucked into and just enjoy them for what they are. So if you want me to get a bottle of the original Jack Daniel's single barrel to put against this, let me know in the comments and I will do my best to do so. But I don't think this is a replacement for my barrel strength version. But you know what? For a 40 quid sipper, that's really damn good. You've got to like a bit of heat, you've got to like a bit of different flavours. It's got that TCP element that I know some people aren't mad on. Definitely got some piney notes if you drink it quickly. You get the idea. Like, it's not a just out and out, just everyday standard bourbon, but if you like things like Elijah Craig, like Wild Turkey, like, looking at my shelf behind me, I'm going to say Bullet Bourbon, even though it doesn't taste like it, but just hear me out. All of those have some expressions that are not down the really narrow generic bourbon route, and this follows that not really generic. It's got a lot of the nice toasty, sweet and oaky flavours, but they're not just bolstered with more sweetness, more vanilla, more caramel. They're peppered with just a huge array of other notes. And for me, that's a great thing because I love a bit of diversity in my whiskey collection. But yeah, have you tried this? Let me know what you think to it. Do you agree or do you think it was terrible? Of course, your bottle might have been, because these are single bottles. If I can help anyone try and find this one, will it tell me any info? It's probably on that sticker I ripped off, right? Oh no, this is barrel number JB2039. I'll put it on screen. It's on the front of the bottle there. But that one, that particular bottle at least, yeah, I thought was very, very good for 40 quid. And to be honest, that is all I've got to say about it. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind. And I'll catch you next time. Cheers.